Hey everybody, Mr. Ian here, and today we're going to be looking at how we go about using our active reading skills within our Amplify library. And to do that, we're going to be looking at, number one, how do we make annotations within the Amplify articles that we're going to be reading? And second, how do we use our active reading skills when we read these articles so we can get the most out of it? We're going to be breaking down those two ideas, and as always, make sure when you come back to your survey, you put your X where you feel your understanding of those two main ideas are. If you have questions or if you put your X in yellow or red, make sure you reach out to me. So let's talk about active reading. Whenever we read like a scientist, whether that is a scientist reading a big scientific journal or us reading a scientific article in class, there's four things we do to help better our understanding of what we read. Number one is we think carefully about what we read and we pay attention to our understanding. Whenever scientists read, they make sure that they understand what they're reading. And if they don't understand something, they got to figure it out. They can't just let that go or forget about it. The second thing is we make notes and annotations in the text to record our thinking as we go. We are actively having a discussion with the text. It's us and what we're reading talking together. Next, we examine pictures and images to consider how they help us understand the text. So we don't just gloss over what pictures we find or the diagrams they have. We try to figure out what they're trying to show us with the text. And last but not least, we discuss what we read and confirm and improve our understanding of what we read with our peers or the people around us. So whenever we are reading articles, the goal is to try to use those four things to help us make sure we truly understand what we're reading. Now, all the articles that we're going to be reading throughout this unit and really throughout the year will be found in our Amplify library. Today, we're going to be looking at how to use some strong active reading skills and how to navigate the page with our very first article titled Energy Inventions, again, to help us with our rescue workers and their problem. So, what is active reading? Active reading is when we focus on what we're reading and we pay attention to our understanding to remember and connect with what we're learning. It's a conversation we have with the text where we make sure we truly are understanding what's going on. So, we do this. We use these active reading skills, number one, by using annotations. We ask questions of what the text is saying. We ask the whats, the whys, and the hows about the text and the information. As we make annotations, we're asking questions about what the pictures are showing, what the texts are saying, what the titles are about, and what labels are popping up with the images and such. We take in every bit of information. As we're annotating, we're explaining and making connections. These can be connections that the pictures have with what the text. This can be what the text says and in one paragraph and what the text says in another. So they talked about this one thing here and they bring it up again here. This is how they're connected. And we make connections to our lives. When we read in the article something that we have done or seen or experienced, we make note of that. And last but not least, whenever we make annotations, we identify difficult topics. So things like words and vocab words that maybe we don't understand, or phrases and ideas. Things where they put together vocab words that we might know independently, but when chunked together, we're like, okay, I don't quite know what they're trying to say there. Last but not least, active reading requires us to discuss what we're reading with our peers. We do this to better understand and explain our ideas and our thinking. So we're no longer having that conversation with just the text. It's now us, the text, and our peers. We get new perspective that maybe you don't think of. So maybe somebody read this part of the article and they thought this, and you didn't realize it. That's a great way to expand our understanding. And last but not least, we make sense of confusing or unknown things. So we ask our peers, did you understand this section? Or we ask what they thought about this and what it means. And we do all of these things as we're reading. So as we read, we make notes of all of these things. And when we're done, we discuss. So those are our active reading skills. But how do we use them? How do we apply them? How do we go into the article and actually make the annotations? Well, whenever we're in the article, we're first got to find it. This 3.3 line icon helps us find whatever we're reading. So we'll be reading The Energy Invention. Whenever we're reading, we have some things that help us. We can click on the little cog here to change the text, make it bigger, smaller, whatever we need. As we're looking at the text, if you're somebody who likes to actually physically read, or if you like to read along as someone reads to you, you can plug in your headphones and click on the little microphone. That will help you read the article as you go. As we're reading, you might see these blue vocab words that you can click on to help you with their definitions and your understanding of it. Next, we have our text itself. Whenever we make annotations, we click over the text and we drag across the text wherever we want to make a note. And you'll see this little icon here that shows that whenever you click on those texts or whenever you highlight those texts, you'll see this little icon pop up where you can highlight sections and then take notes. It's that note-taking button that you see here that allows us to make text. So whenever you click on a text or whenever you drag across, you can then add in those notes, those questions, those connections, or those confusing topics as you go. So as we're making those annotations, that's how we go about navigating the article to help us. So let's look at a few examples using the article that we're going to be reading today. So when we dive into our article, we might come across sections where we want to ask questions because we want to know more. We can record our questions again by dragging, highlighting that section, and making notes. So for example, there may not be an electrical grid nearby, or they may not have electrical wires to bring power from their electrical grids to their homes. This section here, as you're reading, you might ask yourself, well, why would a power plant only run power to these different homes part of the time? Why is it that they don't have electricity all the time? So we would highlight that section. We would ask our question. We'd hit that save button to help keep that annotation that we need. And that's how we'd ask a question to kind of go deeper into what we're reading. Notice we're having a conversation. Think of this as somebody talking. Why are you saying that? Why is it that power plants only run power or bring power from the electric grid to homes some of the times? Another thing that we would identify is difficult topics, phrases, ideas, vocab words. So as we're reading, we can come across words that we might know. We can highlight them, like reliable, and we ask the question like, what does reliable mean? Or maybe we highlight reliable with electricity and ask, what do you mean by reliable electricity? Or what is reliable electricity? We identify those difficult topics so we can kind of find those answers to help us understand the text itself. And last but not least, we make connections whenever we annotate. As we're reading, we look at images like this one here, and we make connections to our own life. We make connections between the text and such. So maybe we read the caption here, we read about this little lamp here, and we make the connection that does it work like my nightlight at home as we're reading this, because it looks very different. So we're connecting, making that note, connecting it to our life. Now, whenever we're done reading and whenever we complete our 3 types of annotations, questions, connections, and difficult texts, we then discuss. So step 1 is we explain the reading to whoever we're talking to, improve the idea of what you read. So we choose interesting questions or we summarize main ideas to share with our partner so we can hear our ideas out loud and we can clear up what we understand about the article. Next, we discuss and understand others' perspectives. So we're listening to other people, what they say. We're sharing and discussing our annotations with our partner and our group so we can learn about what they thought the article said and get a better idea. And last but not least, we make sense of confusing things as we discuss with our group. So we're choosing those interesting or unanswered questions that we have. We're asking our class, our peers, our teachers what they thought of these things. We literally will ask them those questions like, hey, what do you think reliable energy is? And we help ourselves make sense of it together. So that is how we use our active reading skills when it comes to our annotation and our discussions, along with how we make the notes in the page. So take a second, ask yourself, do you know how to make annotations in the Amplify article? Do you understand how to use your active reading skills when reading the article? Those different types of annotations. Put your X where you fall. Reach out if you have questions, and good luck.